Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I bow to the Lord Vasudeva, and I bow to him in all of you. This particular mantra is considered the greatest mantra in Srimad Bhagavatam. It was given to Dhruva. And it is also a mantra in the higher Kriya initiations, chanted with all the chakras. Of course, I won't teach it to you at this time. It's not a fitting thing to do. But I say it in order to help you to understand that it's a very high and holy mantra, and there's real power in it. Well, I would like today to read to you two sayings. You see, there are aspects. I've been talking about God as playful, God as disciplining, the joy of God. We've sung the song, "Well Done, Lord," and thanking God for the wonders of this world and so on. But lest you think that this path is sort of just a giggly, kind of a silly expression, there's also a sternness to it. You're taking up a serious thing when you take up seeking God. It's not just a joke. You are overcoming countless incarnations of mistakes. You've got to be very firm, because there's always this sort of little voice inside that, oh, let me try playing this way a little bit, playing a little bit that way. No. Once you take up seeking God, it is, in a very real sense, a life and death struggle. The death isn't, obviously you leave your body. It isn't that kind of death. It isn't death in the sense of the soul's destruction. I used to worry about that, but it's not that. The soul can't be destroyed, my Guruji said. You can't destroy God, and the soul is a part of God. But isn't it a kind of destruction to lose what you really are and wander and wander and wander in what you are not? In a way, people say, do I really need a guru? Well, listen, if you want to climb mountains, it would be absolutely stupid to try climbing on your own without learning how to climb mountains. There's a lot of technique involved, and it's a matter of life or death. But the death that you might sustain, might endure, or whatever the word is, in falling down a cliff, which happens to mountain climbers, is only the death of one body. So you go on, you never die anyway. But the death of spirituality, in the sense of losing your attunement and going on for incarnations. There was one disciple of my Guru's, he had a lot of good qualities. He had a lot of spiritual power, but he also had a great deal of delusion. A very strange and very complex case. My Guru said to him once, if you leave this path this time, it will take you 200 lives to get back. Well, that's a long time to wander in delusion when you think of the pain involved in living. Because yes, there are fulfillments, but for every fulfillment there's a pain. Just like a pendulum, every time it swings this way, it has to swing that way. For every up in life, there's a down. For every fulfillment, there's a disaster. For every happiness, there's a disappointment. And if you want to go on that way, you can, but that's death as far as your soul's longing goes. And there does come a point to everyone when he feels a sense of anguishing monotony. How long must it go on that I keep seeking and seeking and seeking, and always in the wrong ways? And so when Master found disciples who really wanted God, he was also stern. There is an aspect of the spiritual path that is no joke. I have to admit, now, there are many kinds of suffering. The kind of suffering I had was spiritual, and the thought of wandering in delusion was so horrifying to me that, yes, I took it seriously, and I still take it very seriously. It's not a game. And so, as I said, There are times when Master really could be quite strict with us. In this book, Conversations with Yogananda, when it came to living for God, the Master could be quite austere. Heber Kimball, a tall, dignified young man, visited Mount Washington with the intention of joining the monastery. The Master had put me in charge of the monks, so I mentioned Heber's interest to him. "Tell him from me," the Master replied, "that if he stays here, he can find salvation in this lifetime." This was no mean promise. Mind you, to be told that when it takes many lifetimes after finding that you want God before you finally decide you want only God, and you also decide you don't want anything else. It takes a while. But once you reach that point, you've got a blessing there. It's something to hang on to. I wish Heber had understood, because he was a fine man, but he didn't. I encouraged Heber to remain, therefore. The next day he said to me, "Please ask the Master what I should do about this problem. My parents are growing old. Is it better that I go back, find a job, and take care of them? Or should I remain here?" I reported the question to Master, who replied very sternly, "That is for him to decide. We want only those here who are 100% for God." That was pretty severe, wasn't it? Did Heber stay? Yes, he did, but he didn't remain very long, and I was very sorry to see him go. Another saying I want to read. A young woman once addressed a similar question to the Master. "My mother needs support," she said. "Ought I to leave here for her sake and take a job?" "Leave at once," the Master ordered her peremptorily. "Get out! You aren't needed here." So dismissive was he that she burst into tears. "Master," she pleaded, "my place is with you. I don't want to leave. I will just practice faith in God. He will attend to her needs." "That is the right attitude," he replied with a kindly smile. When a person gives his life to God, the Lord takes care of every aspect of his life. The mother came later on to Mount Washington and lived there happily until her death many years later. It's very important to understand that the spiritual realm embraces the material. It isn't as if they were separated. When you give your life to God, the material flourishes. And if you live sincerely to God, God takes care of your material responsibilities too. But delusion tells us that if we take care of this and then seek God, then everything will work out. It isn't like that. Putting Him at the center, everything else flows well. So what he was saying to both Heber Kimball and to this nun was that if you put God first, but he didn't want to say that. It had to come from him. And so he put it to the nun very strongly, and he put it to the monk, just, it's up to you. And unfortunately, although the man did decide that was his way, in the end, ego came in and all those things. It's a part of the play of Maya. But remember, there is a certain austerity in this. And you do have to. I remember Master one time, his father said something derogatory about his guru, and my father said of all things, my guru said of all things, he said, physical birth is something, but divine birth is everything. If I ever hear you say one more word against my guru, I disown you forever as my father. Well, his father took care not to follow that anyway. You see, however, you've got to be that firm. It's only when you make a firm commitment that suddenly all the doors open. But as long as you're wishy-washy, as long as you're not sure, as long as you sort of think, well, I just want to be sweet and loving. No, there's a point. Why do they call Swamis Maharaj? Sometimes justly, sometimes not so justly. But the reason is, as I've said before, if you are a king of your own self, and the beautiful thing is that when you're a king of yourself, you're a king of your environment. Whatever you decide, somehow it works for you. And I've seen that it works for you even in little ways. That when You need something, it is provided. I had an absolutely lovely experience years ago. I think I've told the story before, but it's well worth telling again. You know, every time, because my guru told me that my work was writing and lecturing, and every time I finished a major writing project, I always like to go off and celebrate with Divine Mother. That's my own little sentiment. And so I had finished this lesson, which is my Raja Yoga course. As you've seen now, it's a book available here in India today. But I felt very happy with this, and I said, Divine Mother, we must celebrate together. Well, I didn't have much money. I went to Carmel, which is a lovely seaside resort, but I found that there were no rooms available. It was summertime. I hadn't thought about that. All the rooms were taken. The only room I could find was, it was available, but it cost a great deal more than I could afford. And I thought, well, I don't want to stay in some cheap place. I've come here to celebrate with you. And so I'll pay for this room, but you'll have to see that I have enough money to get home. And so I pulled out my wallet to pay this man. And he said, no, don't pay me. And I said, well, I'd rather pay you now, meaning I was afraid I wouldn't have it the next day. And he said, no, I don't want you to pay at all. And I said, well, what do you mean? Why not? He said, I don't know. I just like you. Well, that wasn't me. How many times have I been? How many times have you been to a hotel where they wouldn't let you pay because they liked you? No, it was Divine Mother. The next day I went to a restaurant. Somebody saw me there, the owner, who had prepped, I think he'd seen me lecture once. Anyway, he came over and sat down, and he wouldn't let me pay for my lunch. My whole stay there was free. Why? Because I did it with Divine Mother. The more you celebrate life with God, the more you'll find God celebrates it with you. The more you do things with God, the more you'll find He does things with you. I went to Disneyland. I enjoyed Disneyland. I'm enough of a child to really enjoy it. I remember taking an Indian judge there once from Bengal, and he had a free ticket, so he wanted to see Disneyland, but he didn't want to see Disneyland, so he sat on a park bench in the center of it and said, all right, you go around. I said, don't you want a seat? No. He was above all this childish stuff. Well, I wasn't, so I enjoyed it thoroughly. But one day, I went to Disneyland, and they give ministers discounts. So I asked if they would give me a minister's discount, and they said, well, they needed to see a minister's card to show generally that I was a minister. And I said, well, I don't have one. They said, well, what will we do? I said, well, I have my honest face. And I looked at him and thought of God in him. And with a smile, he said, all right. You'll see little things even. When you do them with God, it's just astonishing how He does take care of you. He does support you. And when you're in need, He's there. God is not somebody off in the clouds indifferent. He's indifferent because you're indifferent, but He's not indifferent at all. And if you will just trustingly put your hand in Divine Mother's hand and walk without any thought of importance. I remember one time I was out in 29 Palms at our retreat there, and on the highway I saw an old man, and I gave him a lift. And he was going to a metaphysical convention in the next town. And I could see his mind thinking, now I have a testimonial to give that I, with my affirmation, made this man stop and give me a lift. And so when I came there, I said, where would you like me to lead me? And peremptorily, practically, he ordered me, drive in here. I thought, well, this is fun. I went in, drive up to that gate. Yes, gladly. I let him out there, and I could see that he had this great testimonial to share with all the other people at the convention, that he, with his great power, had managed to manifest this divine miracle of a total stranger not only picking him up, but taking him right to the door of the convention hall. And I thought, let him have his fun. I didn't want to take it away from him. It was nice. It was kind of sweet, too. But you know, that's not the nicest way. How much nicer is it if he, too, could have enjoyed the simple thought that God was giving him that, not he with his ego affirmation. It was a convention of mental physics, and this thought among them is very strong. With my power, I will manifest these expressions. But on the other hand, to simply know that you want God. Everything is a dream. And when you can treat life as a dream, as my guru one time was singing, then life is sweet and death a dream when thy song flows through me, when thy song flows through me. Let God's song flow through you. Be very firm in what you want. He doesn't want, it's not a playground. But once you've really made up your mind that you do want that and nothing else, then there is a certain relaxation that comes. And you will see, I wrote this song, Life is a Dream. Actually, I wrote it for a wedding. But I wanted to remind the couple that what they're really looking for is a higher love, a higher light, a higher life. And so life is a dream, time like a stream carries your burdens away. Never despair, joys everywhere. Life, love can befriend you today. This ideal of God being with you in the dark periods of life, in the bright periods of life, He's not going to make everything sweet. He'll give you tests. But if you are grateful for them, you'll see that the end of every test, and my God, I've had such pains, and yet I have seen at the end there was such joy. I remember when I was thrown out of my guru's organization for all the wrong reasons. They didn't know anything about me. Accused me of, you wouldn't believe. And yet, I decided, I choose to love. Because I'm unhappy if I don't love, and I'm happy if I do. And I saw at the end of that, there was so much sweetness. I love, and I still love. And that is what I want to say to you. See life as a dream. Be very strong in yourself, and walk hand in hand with the Divine Mother. God bless you.
Life is a dream, time like a stream, carries our burdens away. Never despair, joys everywhere, love can befriend you today. Free from all care, like birds on the air, soar above griefs and worries, seek joy and be gay. Often on earth, things of great worth, worldly ambitions defy. Sometimes a friend helps us ascend up from life's cares to the sky. Love is a star, though shining afar, it can guide us and help us toward light to draw nigh.
Life is a dream, time like a stream, carries our burdens away. Never despair, joys everywhere, love can befriend you today. Free from all care, like birds on the air, soar above griefs and worries, seek joy and be gay. Often on
storms defy. Sometimes a friend helps us ascend up from life's cares to the sky. Love is a star, though shining afar. It can guide us and help us toward light to draw nigh. Love is a star, though shining afar. It can guide us and help us toward light to draw